It was the steal, then the slam for the Bucks in Game 5. Was Giannis's alley-oop more iconic than his Game 4 block? There it is. Devin Booker lit it up again. Any chance his Suns can come back and now win the finals? And Suns fans counting up the Benjamins during Giannis's free throws. Good Monday morning, everyone. There it is. Welcome to First Things First. Alongside Nick, Brendan,
right
Kevin
now.
Wilds, I'm Jenna Wolfe. Could that be Nick right now? Nick, what's he doing there?
Oh, I don't know what he's doing. I do know what I'm doing. It's the exact same thing off camera, awaiting Brandon's Western Union. Brandon, I'm checking the notifications. Nothing.
You should have made the
bet. I feel like you owe me a lot.
Pay up, buddy.
Oh, that was off the air, buddy. Feel like there's a lot of money owed.
Roll
That's
the tape
okay.
back.
That's okay. The tape said, call me off the air. This was done off the air for tax purposes.
Might be time to pay up. All right, let's start there. Game 5 Saturday night. One play encapsulates the entire game. The only play you need to see, Jrue Holiday with that steal from Devin Booker, the lob, the perfect alley-oop pass to Giannis. Did you see it? Jrue, Giannis sealed not only the highlight of the night, but the game for the Milwaukee Bucks as well. Here's Giannis with his version after the game.
He didn't want to throw me the ball at first, but I was like, throw it, throw it, throw it. And then he threw it. He trusted me, and after the game, I was like, thank you for trusting me, because it could go any way. He could throw it and, make a wrong pass. And that's going to be on him because the point guard, whenever, coach is going to say you're supposed to keep the ball, but he trusted me. He knew that I'm going to finish the play, and that says a lot to me.
Any part of you that thought, oh, I might have thrown a little too high on that one?
Nah, he's, they don't call him the freak for nothing, so I threw it as high as I could.
Drue's like, nah, I threw the perfect play. Here's the play. Nick, what was your biggest takeaway as you watched it unfold from the Bucks steal and alley-oop to win Game 5?
Almost too many takeaways to count, but I'll do my best because not only was this final play in sequence iconic, dare I say it was almost Shakespearean when you consider everything that went into it. Start with who gets the ball stolen from him. If Devin Booker just pulls up, takes a little 17-footer, gives the Suns the lead, they're in control of the series, Booker had back-to-back 40-point games, and this becomes not the Giannis series, but instead the Devin Booker series. But the basketball gods knew it is not yet his moment. And so instead of having the highest of highs, he gets the lowest of lows. And then there's the Jrue Holiday part of it. Jrue Holiday making a vintage Jrue Holiday play. I am the best point guard defender in basketball. I am just going to literally rip the game out of your hands. And by the way, about 40 minutes earlier, he had ripped him at midcourt when it was a 5-point game, walked down and hit a step-back three in his eye. Then there's the trust part of it. Jrue trusting Giannis, and we could talk for 30 minutes about the trust the Bucks have shown in Jrue, trading for him and signing him. And then there is the Giannis part of it. It is once again, as Jenna pointed out, off that left leg that he hyperextended, the same leg he jumped off of for the block, he jumps off of for the dunk. It is the culmination of a lifetime of hard work. And the reason I say Shakespearean, and I think Wilds is going to expand on this more in a bit, I do believe this was the first NBA Finals game LeBron James has ever attended that he wasn't playing it. And not only is he there, he is in the sideline camera shot, the perfect seat in the house to watch Giannis, who once upon a time prematurely, figuratively took the crown from LeBron. I think officially, potentially, if they finish it off, take the crown from LeBron. So Brandon, it was there's LeBron sitting right there. Adele's there, Rich Paul's there.
That's from you?
There's Suns fans. Is that Brandon? Hold on. Is that Brandon covering his eyes? That's blonde hair, so I'm not sure. But so listen, my takeaway is, Brandon, it was perfect microcosm for this series and this game.
Okay, time out. I can't even answer Jenna's question because of what you said at the end. You're talking about Giannis taking the crown from your boy, LeBron James. Come on, man. I wasn't expecting that on this Monday
must come
morning.
to an end at some
First
point.
off,
we're not there yet. We got another game. We're not there yet, but it's
for me to be correcting you about LeBron James says a lot. First off, LeBron James wasn't there for Giannis. They actually put the mic in his face and he said, "I'm here for CP3. That's it." So yeah, it was Shakespearean, but it wasn't because of Giannis. It was because of Chris Paul. And it was interesting to me, though, Nick, when he said that, because I'm like, why isn't he giving respect to Giannis? Is it because he doesn't want to lose his crown? So I still think there's a lot to this conversation. But to answer your question, Jenna, the biggest takeaway for me was Jrue Holiday. This is why you pay this guy, Kevin Wildes. I mean, think about the year that he's had. He hasn't had a great, consistent year. He really hasn't. Even in the playoffs, we've been going back and forth on, what is Jrue going to do? Jrue Holiday, can you shoot the ball? Can you be more aggressive? He actually did his thing, 27 points, and then on the defensive side, obviously he closed the game. He reminds me a lot like a defensive back. You know, when you think about how he plays, and then this beautiful pass here, you know, now that's where you see the point guard in him comes out, because the perfect basketball play, if we want to be honest, is for him to pull that out and potentially take the foul. But he trusted his guy, and he obviously made the right play in his mind, and they went on to win, and I still didn't get any sleep. I didn't get any sleep after game 4, Wildes, and I didn't get any sleep after game 5. This is a terrible weekend for me.
Okay.
Can I tell you something?
Brandon,
Wildes,
once you get it,
can I
go, Nick.
Can I just tell you, Brandon, something when he was talking about sleep? It's so funny because I didn't get much sleep either, but it's because every time I was falling asleep, I would wake up to "it's over, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." It is. I was like, it's just going in my head again
It's Friday,
and again.
and it's over.
True. And it's over. And it's going to be over well before
So far
Friday.
from that.
No, can't do it now. Go ahead, Wildes.
Go Wildes.
Nick, I did pick up coronation tremors, coronation vibes. And you referenced Giannis putting the crown on his head. And when we saw that, I think it was 2019, basically collectively the NBA world, it's a gutsy move, but probably too early. And also, you don't get to crown yourself. Someone else has to crown you. And I think that's what we're seeing now.
Wow.
We're seeing him take over the league and be LeBron-esque in this series, dominating on offense, dominating on defense. Here's the picture that Nick referenced, where it almost looks like a presidential campaign when the former president has to swear in the new president. You got Chris Paul there. He's like, oh no, my banana boat friend there, he's on the wrong end of this. And I know you might say like, it's too early, it doesn't match up. But when you look at the statistics, Nick, Giannis is ahead. If he wins this championship, you could argue that he's better at 26 than LeBron. When LeBron won his first championship when he was 27.
Oh my goodness.
If Giannis can win this, Brandon's true. If Giannis can win this, and we've done this before, we did it with Durant. Like after Durant won, we're in countdown. Paul's like, it's Durant's league, and it didn't really play out that way. But I feel like if you're talking about it, then tons of people are talking about it. If you're the one that's willing to say, hey, you know what? We might have a conversation here. So how confident are you that Giannis can be the face of the league or is about to become the face of the league?
Well, so there's two different conversations there. The full screen is about their careers. And Giannis is worlds away from LeBron's career. But I would argue LeBron James has been the best player in basketball since May of 2007, the 48 special game against the Detroit Pistons, when he was then just a game away from leading the Cavs to the finals at age 22. That if I'm right about that, and I am, that's a 14-year run as the best player in the league. That is almost double the next longest run. It has to end at some point. There is no shame in it ending at some point. And there is no one else right now, Brandon, that is going to have a legitimate claim on it. KD could have, but Giannis beat him. And then Giannis was even better in the finals. And so I just think, that if you're being fair about it, I think Giannis has as good of a claim as anyone has had for a decade. that he, not LeBron, again, assuming they close it out, should be considered the best player in basketball moving forward?
Listen, so I wasn't willing to go out there this year and say that LeBron James wasn't the greatest player in basketball anymore. I gave Joel Embiid the title most dominant player in basketball.
Yep.
Nick, you may be right. We may need to change this conversation. I'm still not willing to say the best player in basketball right now, but I am willing to go out there and say, you know what, maybe it's not Joel Embiid. Maybe it is Giannis who's the most dominant player in the NBA. Nick, I don't know the last time we've seen a 15-point game from him, with everything being healthy, him having a healthy knee. Now, obviously, there was a game where he didn't dominate like he usually does because he had the hyperextended knee. But outside of that, this dude is 30 and 15 night after night after night. And Jenna, to Wilds' point, no. What happens with LeBron James make everyone around him better. So Giannis, yeah, he can be, the greatest player today if that's what we want to say. But as far as, where he is compared to where LeBron James was at that age, that's not even in debate. LeBron James makes everyone better in the organizations and elevates everyone's game. And he did it year after year after year. So I think that's going a little bit too far.
All right, let's set the coronation aside just for a second. The steal and the setup. Just one of the standout plays from Jrue Holiday last night. Was he actually the MVP of Game 5 after everything we've said about Jrue the last couple of games? We'll discuss that next. First things first on a Monday morning. 9-9 for Drawing a Blank, and we're still talking Jrue Holiday's Game 5. Took it right out of Devin Booker's hands, set up Giannis with the perfect alley-oop pass in clutch time. How about Jrue Holiday? 27 points, 13 assists. So, Brandon, Jrue's Game 5 was blank.
Yeah, potentially the greatest play in Bucks history. Sometimes there's plays that we forget about. You go back to 2005, the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl run. They went on to Detroit and beat the Seattle Seahawks. Remember that game? Remember that moment? Well, the one play was Big Ben, the game-saving tackle. You can even... Yeah, Jerome Bettis, his final year, his final moments, and he fumbles, and Big Ben happens to tackle a defensive back. Come on. This is one of those plays. Now, if the Bucks go on to win it, we won't remember this play, but this was a great play. Booker, like you said earlier, Nick, all he had to do is pull up, and the game has changed. You can even go back to the last series. What if KD's toe wasn't on the line? We wouldn't even be talking about this. So there's plays in these championship runs that we forget about, and this is one of them.
And the Bucks have had a handful. I think Jrue Holiday's Game 5 performance was trust personified. The Milwaukee Bucks trusted that Giannis was going to re-sign, so they traded half a decade's worth of draft picks to go get Jrue. They then trusted that Jrue would perform at a high level in the biggest moments, so they gave him a max contract. Giannis then trusted that Jrue Holiday would break out of the offensive slump he's been in and kept feeding him the ball in this game, which led to him having the greatest game he's ever had. And then Jrue trusted that Giannis could go get this alley-oop, despite Chris Paul kind of shoving him a little dirty, actually, in the belly on it, and into the game. So it was trust on trust on trust on trust from the organization, from the player, from the star player, from everyone. So it's trust personified and really vindicated, Wilds.
So I'm going to go with CP3 Kryptonite. So this was our first major Jrue Holiday, wow, offensive game. Defensively, he's put the clamps on CP3. Now, personally, I think CP3's hand is, hurting him a little bit more than he's letting on. But when you look at the job that he's doing against the point god, to combine that with a great offensive performance, just shows how great he is. And you know what, CJ? I'm going to give Jrue Holiday an MVP vote. Get Nick upset. Giannis can get 10. Jrue Holiday can get 1. Middleton can get 1. It'll just be nice. It's just a nice gesture. That's all. It's an MVP vote. It's a nice gesture.
Okay.
Give us another nice gesture. Let's talk some weird and wonderful from our national pastime Wilds. How about Shohei Ohtani, Brandon? Mariners, Angels, top 9.
Let's go.
Last off. Shohei's major league leading 34th home run. That is pretty wonderful. Ohtani on the mound today, by the way. The guy just gets it done.
Ooh.
But Wilds, what else you got for us?
Oh, we'll start with the weird, Jenna. Mets, Pirates, bases loaded in the first. Kevin Newman hits a dribbler down the third base line. Walker scoops it up, accidentally becomes a lacrosse player. Pirates clear the bases, 3-run score. Walker doesn't make it through the first. Rojas ends up getting ejected. Here's the weirdest part about this whole thing. Mets end up winning the game. Mets win, Pirates lose, but still, they're calling this the bunt fumble. I kind of like that. Pretty good. Still, Mets win. Moving on to the wonderful. We got more Ohtani. Yeah, I thought it was good. Mariners, Angels, Ohtani ground ball the first. Ty France fields it cleanly, loses the foot race. Now, you're not supposed to dive into first base, slide into first base. That does not hold for the fielder. You probably need to dive, put the ball in your glove, dive, get an extra few inches there because your glove, too. Moving on to the weird Cubs, Diamondbacks, bases loaded, 1 out. Cole Calhoun, this looks like the last play. Another grounder to first. Rizzo gets the ball here. He throws home. Okay, 1 out, good. But since Cole Calhoun had to dodge the ball, he ends up forgetting to run to first. Double play. The inning is over.
Oh, no.
Now, shout out to Twitter user Zona Jones, because get this. See how he avoided it? Cole Calhoun is the same guy last year who in order to try to, he headbutted a ball last year. So last year he headbutted a ball, was called out. This year he avoided the ball, fell down, didn't make it to first, was called out. So Cole Calhoun, headbutt the ball, you're out, avoid the ball, you're out, nothing you can do, but you know what, you're trying. That's the weird and the wonderful from the National
What's the rules on that? Is there any rules?
Soccer, yes. Baseball, no.
Back to the finals. What chances are we giving the Suns to come back, win this series after losing the last 3 games? We break it down. Next, first thing first, rolling on.
They're a better team. They're a better team.
They got it proved. Back here with NBA champ Antoine Walker. Twan, good morning. We're taking the Suns' temperature here. They jumped out to a 2-0 series lead in these finals. We had Brandon singing to us about it being over, but then everything the Suns had going, the lead, the momentum, Brandon singing, another 40-point Devin Booker performance, all for naught after losing Game 5 and falling down 3 to the Bucks.
Friday,
so here was Monty Williams on where his Suns go from here.
We got to win one game to put them back on the plane. That's it, and you have to have that determination that you're willing to do whatever it takes to put them back on the plane. And so we can call it what we want to, mental toughness, all of that stuff, but it's going to be needed, and our guys are capable of doing it. This is our first time in this position, and we can do it.
I love Monty. Antoine, what is your level of confidence in the Suns to come back and win the finals, win the series?
Well, when you really think about this, the mental toughness part of it is only could come really from 2 guys, like Monty Williams and Chris Paul. These are 2 great leaders, guys that have led them all season long. They got to be the 2 guys to kind of really ensure these guys that, hey, we can go in Milwaukee and get a win and get back to Phoenix. Those have got to be 2 vocal guys. I'm pretty sure they have been, but it's got to come from that. And for Chris Paul, he has to be the aggressor on the court. Immediately, he has to put this team on his back. That first quarter, Milwaukee's going to be feeding into the crowd. Chris Paul cannot let these guys get away from them. They got to make sure that he stays mentally focused throughout this game, because they're going to follow his lead. This is a young group, their first time being there. And I know this is Chris's first time being there, but he's the guy with experience. He's been the leader throughout the season. He has to be the one to continually keep these guys upbeat, because the Milwaukee Bucks have their number. They figured them out. They got their matchups right, and they even got a little extra when you really think about it on the matchup side, because now they figured out that Holiday can actually guard Devin Booker for long stretches. So you got to put that in perspective too as well. So I just think the Bucks have their number. They're ready now. They're more confident. Their rotations are down. If you look at the Bucks' rotation and how they're playing now, they're down. And that was a special performance. I'm listening to you guys earlier talk about this alley-oop and these different plays. What was impressive is the big three playing together, playing off each other. All three guys showing up in Game 5. You got to give that's the credit about that Game 5. All three of those guys showed up. You rarely get that in the playoff series. You don't get all three guys to show up. And if all three guys show up, Phoenix don't have a chance in Game 6.
Ooh. So the question is, what is your level of confidence in the Suns and coming back and taking the momentum back? My confidence level is still strong. It is. I know you guys
like
got the
Let me tell you, it sounds like it.
Where is Chris Bouchard that we said? Put some bass in your voice. Listen, the last team to come back from an 0-2 deficit in the finals was your team, Twan, in 06. So this is hard to do. Now, I was just playing the numbers going back to Game 1. They took Game 1, and it was like 70% percentage. There was 70% percentage of the Suns going on to win it, and then they won Game 2. And now you look at the teams that went on to win it. The Bucks had less than a 10% chance of overcoming this deficit. This is tough to do. So for them to be in this position, they have all the momentum. But at the end of the day, this was the hottest team going back to March 1st in the Suns. The team is better. Trust me when I say Monty Williams is the better coach. CP3 is the better point guard. And the big three on the Suns is better than the Bucks, but they're not playing like it. For them to go out there, and you just talked about it, Twan, their big three combined for 88 points. That is out of this world. I don't expect them to do that again. Giannis, Middleton, Jrue Holiday. Jrue, 27 points. Jrue is hit or miss when it comes to that. Now, on the defensive side, you know what you're going to get. And you talked about it. He can guard Devin Booker. He put a lot of pressure on CP3. CP3 started to implode the last couple games. So, Nick, I just don't think the Bucks in Game 6 and then in Game 7 is going to combine for 88 points. It's going to be that efficient. That's what they've been doing the last 2 games. I don't expect that to continue.
I think this will shock the audience, but I think Brandon is absolutely right. In fact, I think the Bucks' big three is going to combine for 0 points in Game 7 because there isn't going to be one because Milwaukee's going to win this thing in 6. Sorry, buddy. I know you were big on the Suns are the better team. No, they're not. I know you were big on their big three's better. Will not win the head of the snake for the Bucks. Big three is Giannis, who had, 32, 9, and 6. And it felt like a down game. Not when Milwaukee can be down 16 at the end of 1, send Giannis to the bench, and it's tied before he comes back in the basketball game. This is a team playing with so much confidence that Coach Bud rolled out 2 lineups that shocked me. One was any lineup involving Jeff Teague. What are you doing, Bud? Do you have a bet with someone? Jeff Teague can't play. But the other one was the Giants. He rolled out a lineup that had played 0 minutes together ever. Lopez, Portis, Middleton, Giannis, PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker's your smallest guy on the court. It's like, hey, it's Game 5 of the finals. Let's try this out. So I don't see a path forward for Phoenix. And it also does bear mentioning that when we look at teams down 3-2, if they come back, the NBA changed the finals format in the last decade. It's not 2-3-2 anymore. It's 2-2-1-1-1, meaning that if you're down 3-2, it's not like you've got Game 6 and 7 at home wilds like some teams have in the past. You got to go win in Milwaukee. Yeah. Today is July 19th. Milwaukee has lost in Milwaukee 1 time since April 19th. It was the Trae Young game 1 of that series, 116-113 with Trae having like 47 and 11. They're not going to lose Game 6 at home. Brandon Jennings is going to be the oracle of our times, just a decade ahead of time. Bucks in 6 coming home for the finals, just about 8 years after Brandon Jennings said it was going to happen.
All right, so Antoine, I want to ask you about the comeback, the 16-point comeback that the Bucks had, and if that's going to have sort of a mental or emotional gut punch carryover into Game 6? Because I didn't play in the game, and that's right, you guys didn't see me. I wasn't there. I was just watching it at home. But at halftime, I was like, oh, I felt terrible. It felt like a boxing match where you're winning the first few rounds and then you get clobbered and you go back to the corner and it's just like, holy cow, like what just happened? And you end up losing the fight. Like at halftime, I did not think the Suns had a chance of winning that game just because it was too emotional, sort of wrenching. And here's the other weird part. The Suns shot 55% from the field, 68% from three, and 90% from the line. I don't think they can go in with a game plan of like, let's shoot better. They shot amazing. So I guess my question is this. Do you feel like the emotional gut punch of having a big lead, about to take control of the series and losing it will carry over to Game 6?
Well, you got it as a team and the players, you know, they may not come out publicly and say it, but they got to be feeling a little bit like when they look at the stat sheet and they look at the game, they watch the film like, man, we can't play any better than the way we played. And it was a great game, and we came up empty. Our best player gets 40 points in back-to-back games, and we still lose. Then Chris Paul returns and plays great, 11 assists, 1 turnover, and you still lose. So those things, you know, start to play in your head. Jay Crowder gets off to a great start. It's the first 10, 12 points of the game. Then he disappears. So he's probably like, what do I need to do to help this team out? Bridges, a guy who's been up and down throughout the series. So you're talking about your main five guys that probably played the best they could play. Brandon won that, and you guys have won that Milwaukee Big Three and probably cannot duplicate the same numbers that they put up. But can the Phoenix players duplicate that? Can Booker get you one more 40-point game? Does he have it in him to do that? Could Chris Paul go 11 assists and 1 turnover again? So all these things are in play right now. I just think
after all,
I just think
that's
Milwaukee
the difference. Everything you just said. Everything you just said, it comes down to that trio. That's what it comes down to. That trio is super hot the last 2 games. I mean, it's just, you talking about the efficiency, and you're talking about 88 points combined. Jrue Holiday, Middleton, who's been up and down. Jrue Holiday really has been non-existent on the offensive side all year. So please, they're not going to do that again. Not in the Game 6, not in the closeout game against the Suns.
They might have something to say about that. Time for Nick to hand out NBA playoff medals now. Chris Middleton, as we mentioned, big night, finished 29 points in the Game 5 win. Bucks Big Three combined for basically all the points. 88 points, as Brandon mentioned. C.J. McCollum would give Chris Middleton the gold medal, Nick.
Please.
But you did not. Which 3 guys did it better?
Well, the Suns' Big Three, by the way, combined for 81 points, 40 of them by Devin Booker. Unfortunately, that's only good enough for a bronze because second straight 40-point game that ended in a loss, and in the biggest moment of Devin Booker's young career, Jrue Holiday takes his cookies from him. So instead of having 42 and a game winner and the Suns up 3-2, he has what's got to feel like a somewhat empty 40 in a Suns loss. He gets a bronze. At least you get a bronze medal, Book. I'm sure that makes you feel better. Giannis with the silver. Another yawning ho-hum 32-9-6 from Giannis, who is having a runaway freight train finals MVP, including the iconic play on both ends of the series. That one right there over Chris Paul. And as Wilds pointed out, way to find the camera, Giannis. Excellent court awareness before, during, and after the play. And then the gold medal, Jrue Holiday. It is not an overstatement to call it the finest game of his career. He had 27 points on 60% shooting. He was the guy that got the Bucks back in the game in the second quarter. 13 assists, none bigger than that one. The steals were fantastic. The one we keep showing on Booker, and this one. This is a 5-point game, Suns ball. No, it's not. It's an 8-point game now at Suns ball, because that's in your eye, Devin. So there's Jrue Holiday. He gets the gold. Best game of his career, as Milwaukee is 1 win away from their first championship in 50 years, Jenna.
Wow, wow. All right, that's who made it.
Left.
Kevin Wildes. Yeah, there is. Who just missed the cut.
Well, I'm writing my college thesis on this theory, Jenna. This series has been defined by a few different fans. First of all, in Milwaukee, we have the Deer District, which is just 20,000 strong, but no real superstars in the mix. Meanwhile, Phoenix Suns fans just minted, literally themselves, another superstar. So first we had Suns and 4 guy, and now we got a $100 bill counting guy. So congratulations, Phoenix Suns fans. You might not win the championship, but you do have 2 budding superstars in the stadium.
Antoine, I would side bet anyone that 100% of that man's net worth is represented in those 2 hands. I think 100% of all the money is right there.
No. He should do a banking deal. He's fantastic.
Now sponsored by Chase Bank. Back talking the play of the weekend, the playoffs, maybe the year. The Bucks with the Valley-oop of their own now. We break it down on the other side. First things first. Oh, Brandon.
Oh, they're stealing the nickname.
Back here with Antoine Walker on a Monday morning. Twan, can we talk about Giannis's free throws or lack thereof? It's rhetorical. The answer is yes. That's what we're talking about this segment. They've been a conversation piece all postseason long. That continues this morning. Just 4 of 11 from the stripe in Game 5. So Chris Paul talked about the Suns' struggles rebounding the ball on some of those misses. And in the process, he took a not-so-subtle dig at Giannis. Take a listen to this.
Everybody's out there anticipating the miss. You know, hell, even he is. You know what I mean? So, you know, we got to keep trying to box out. And then if his length, you know, he tipped the ball up in the air, ain't too much you can do.
All right, Twan, you heard what he said. What'd you make of CP3's comments about Giannis?
Well, I think he's wrong, and to make those type of comments to say he's anticipating a miss. One thing I can say about Giannis, and we all can witness this, he's put a lot of work on his free throws. He has some mechanical problems with his shot. This probably was making him miss as much as he missed, but you can tell he works really, really hard. The routine he has, even though it's slow, but I like the fact that he has a routine. He does it every time. He stays consistent, whether he shoots an air ball, whether he misses it, he stays consistent. So I think Chris Paul is wrong for saying that. This is a guy you can tell that spent numerous of days in the gym working on his free throws. And until somebody on the Bucks organization, sits down with him and shows him and changes form up a little bit, he's going to continue to be a bad free throw shooter. But, I mean, obviously Chris Paul is frustrated at that point in the press conference. But you got to understand that when he goes to the line, it's a free fall sometimes. You got to attack the basket. All the principles come into play where the guards got to come back and rebound. And that's, they don't do a great job of doing that. And Milwaukee's benefited and got second opportunities from that. But I don't think Chris Paul was right for saying that this guy is going to the free throw line to make his free throws. And you got to give him a lot of credit. He hasn't been able to make his outside shot. He's been continuously attacking the basket. He does not shy away from it. When you're scared to shoot free throws like a guy we see in Philadelphia, you shy away from the basket. This guy is still attacking the basket and doesn't mind getting fouled at the free throw line.
Twan, I disagree with you. I think CP3's been honest. I mean, everyone knows in a world that Giannis struggles from the line. Come on, you played with Shaq, man. You played with Shaq. You won it in 2006. You played with Wade. You know there was a difference when you were sitting there and you were ready to box out. When Shaq was at the line, you know you had white knuckles. The tension was high. You knew at any moment this ball could be going anywhere. And then when D Wade was on the line, you knew, okay, let me chill just a little bit. It wasn't the same effort. Hell, I played in AAU. I played high school. And I knew when we had a good free throw shooter at the line that there was a different attention to it. So, come on, man. You know CP3's being honest here.
No, he's not. Actually, he's not being honest because you can't tell me Giannis believes that he's going to miss the free throws. He doesn't have that type of mentality because if he did, he wouldn't until he could attack the basket. He doesn't mind going to the free throw line. And I got to go back to he has a routine. He has a routine that he stays with whether he makes a miss, and you have to give him credit for that. So I don't think he goes to the line thinking he's going to miss.
Yeah, Nick, I think the difference here is Giannis doesn't care if he makes or misses it. He knows what he brings to the table. He knows what his game is. He knows where the holes in his games are. So Giannis, at the end of the day, Giannis knows what he needs to work on, and that's why you're seeing Giannis continue to thrive, because he's like, look, on the biggest stage, I don't care if I miss a three. I don't care if I miss a free throw.
He's not worried about being embarrassed. Right. He's going to play his game and not be worried about being embarrassed, which I think is part of the huge issue with Ben Simmons. But if Chris Paul is right, and everyone knows is anticipating a Giannis miss, Chris Paul doesn't need to tell the media, can we show the miss again? He needs to just turn to his left and tell Devin Booker, because Devin Booker missed the box out on Jrue Holiday, which caused all of this. If Devin Booker keeps Jrue Holiday out of the lane, that is a rebound for the Suns. So if everyone's anticipating the miss, then why do the Bucks keep getting them? So, like, I think he's right and wrong. Like, it is true that when a bad free throw shooter's at the line, you need to be more aware, which is why it's so bad that the Bucks keep getting extra possessions off of this. But, more importantly, Wilds, I want to take America back to Christmas Eve, the very first basketball game that we discussed all year. It was Celtics-Bucks. People will remember Jason Tatum getting lucky and banking in a game winner and then acting like he meant to bank it in when it was just a terrible shot that went in. What happened right after this, with a second left, 0.4 left, is Giannis got fouled, down 2. And he made the first and then went to the line and missed the second. That's how the NBA season began on national television. And everyone was killing Giannis. And what did your brave colleague, yours truly, come out and say? Missed free throws don't actually matter. And by the way, right again. It is the type of thing that Mike Breen, who I adore, and every announcer loves harping on. Oh my God, he missed another free throw. Show me the championship. Show it to me. The final series where it's like, oh, that guy missed free throws, other than when Nick Anderson missed 4 in a row in a game 1. Last 22 championships, Wilds, 14 of them have been won by Shaq, Duncan, LeBron, and soon to be Giannis. That's 14 of 22. Guess what all those guys have in common? Crummy free throw shooters. It doesn't actually end up mattering. Everyone loves being like, oh, what are you going to do? You have to be such a bad free throw shooter that you change the way you play, like Ben Simmons did, in order for the missed free throws to matter. Everyone freaks out about them. They never end up actually mattering. And so Giannis has been missing them from game 1 to game 5 of the finals. He missed 4 in a row down the stretch. Didn't matter. It doesn't matter. So the Bucks are like, I see what Chris Paul's saying, but they also don't actually matter. Suns, greatest free throw shooting team ever, going home. Doesn't matter.
It's an amazing take. I don't know. Well, Karl Malone missed some important free throws, did he not? Did Jordan get the ball and send the Jazz home? Karl Malone, I feel like, one of the most famous missed free throws.
They lost because Jordan stole it from him. And then Jordan made the basket.
Oh, that's true.
They didn't lose because of missed free throws. They lost because he screwed something else up.
America, if you're tuning in there earlier in the show, we had Nick saying Giannis probably taking the crown from LeBron, and now he's singing Jordan's praises. So it's just a great Monday all around. Antoine, I'm going to give you a thesis on this highlight from Giannis. I don't think Giannis wants to go to the line. I think when Giannis tips the ball back after he misses it, he's trying to get it to Middleton, obviously because Middleton's a better free throw shooter. But I found it interesting that he could have brought that ball down. It's Chris Paul. He's got like literally a foot on Chris Paul. So I feel like when he's tapping it back to Middleton, he's like, well, I don't want to be at the line.
Smart.
Don't you think, do you agree that it's a smart move? It's kind of odd when you can have possession and you choose not to. You're sending the ball up. So I thought it was a savvy move, but I don't think he wants to get to the line. And I thought it was a good move to get to Middleton, albeit somewhat.
Without question. I think anytime he's in the late game situation, and it's a fouling situation, I think he's going to try to get it out of his hands every time. And he understands that he's not a great free throw shooter. So, and he knows that Middleton's better than him. That's something that's a player with good basketball IQ that knows who's a better free throw shooter. My argument is that I believe he has the confidence to go to the line. Whether he makes a miss, he's not gonna be bothered by it. He's not gonna lose any confidence, and he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind that opportunity or being in that moment, regardless of whether he makes it or misses. And I think that's something special. Let's have something special about him. But obviously he has to continue to improve, and he can't be perfect. But you like Nick said, which I thought was a great thing, some of our better players to play this game, and some, LeBron James and Shaq, those guys were not great foul. They're not great foul shooters, and they hasn't messed up their career at all. So I think Giannis understands where he's at right now. Just getting the routine and getting down to where he's going to be able to make, if it's 65, 70% at a time. Because now he has this thing with this 10-second thing. Does he continue that next year? This thing can, it can carry out to be something really big. I think it'll be his job next year to just kind of nip that stuff in the bud.
Bill Russell, 56%.
Right,
really hurt him. Just killed him. Only 11 rings.
You know what Giannis is good at is being on the back end of an alley-oop that can decide a game, basically. Talking Jrue Holiday, the steal that's set up to Giannis, one of the many plays Jrue had in Game 5. Was he the MVP of the Bucks' win? To be discussed next. Antoine, thank you.
All right.
Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks. Built to serve, the Bucks are just one win away from winning the title after a big Game 5 win Saturday night. For Giannis, just a tremendous opportunity to validate his regular season success. He talked a little bit before Game 5 about his mentality in these playoffs, and this was great. Love this. Take a listen.
I mean, you're 26 years old, and, I've covered plenty of players who didn't seem like they figured the ego part out until their 30s. I mean, who taught you about why that's important and to handle it that way?
I think I'll say life. Usually, I'm telling you this. Usually, when from my experience, right? Like when I think about oh yeah, I did this. I'm so great. I had 30. I had 25, 10, and 10, or whatever the case might be. Because you're gonna think about that. Oh, we won this and that. Usually, the next day you're gonna suck.
Right.
Simple as that. You the next few days you're gonna be terrible. And I figured out a mindset to have that when you focus on the past, that's your ego. I did this. We were able to, beat this team 4-0. I did this in the past. I won that in the past. Right. And when I focus in the future, is my pride. Next game, Game 5, I do this and this and this. Right. I'm going dominant. That's your pride talking. It doesn't happen. You're right here. And I kind of try to focus in the, in the moment, in the present. And that's humility. That's being humble. That's not setting no expectation. That's going out there, enjoying the game, competing at a high level. And I think I've had people throughout my life that helped me with that. But that's a skill that I've tried to perfect it.
Master it.
Master it. And it's been working so far.
That is just really great perspective from the 26-year-old. Brandon, what did you make of Giannis's comments?
Yeah, Jenna, I love talking about this. I love talking about the mindset. I love talking about mental fitness. A lot of times it's not represented in sports television. We don't talk about the mind enough. We talk about the physical. 80% of life, 80% of the game is mental, and we need to lean into it more. Wow. Giannis is literally writing a book on sports psychology. He's literally writing a book not only for all athletes, but any executives or anyone out there that's trying to take their game to a whole nother level. Whatever your game is, whether you're at home, dad, mom, a weekend warrior, you're an executive, you're an entrepreneur, you can learn from Giannis. And the reporter did a phenomenal job of pulling this out of Giannis. He's 26. It takes guys a lifetime to check their ego. Probably 90% of people to walk this planet never checks their ego. This is why Giannis is next level. Think about everything he faces now, Wilds. He can't shoot threes. We know that. Free throw line, 50, 60%, at best, in spurts throughout the year. This dude it doesn't matter. He gets up and he just puts his best foot forward. That's why he's performing at a high level. Look at the other end of the spectrum. Ben Simmons afraid to fail in front of people. Giannis, it doesn't matter because I don't care how you talk about me. One of the things I always say is when you win, don't hang from the rafters, and when you lose, don't hang your head. You got to find a way to be even kill. So for him to be 26, leaning into this type of performance, it's next level, and he's literally writing a book, Wilds.
Yeah. So to me, I had a few takeaways from that. One of my biggest takeaways was that we are looking at the face of the league and like global sports. That you have to be so impressed with not only what he's doing on the court, on the offensive end and the defensive end. He's had both of like the iconic plays on both sides of the ball. And then in these press conferences, this is about the third press conference that he's had, Nick, where you just sit back and say, oh, this is a fascinating insight. And he's so transparent and so vulnerable and at the same time confident that I know we kind of joke around and we can have sort of these fights about who's the best player in the league. Is it LeBron? But that's what LeBron does. LeBron was the face of the league, not just because of what he could do on the court, because he understood the business of the league. He understood his responsibilities outside of the court. He understood if it was Christmas Day, he had to show up, whether he was hurt or had a cough or had a fever. Doesn't matter. He understood the game of basketball, 94/50, and he understood everything around it. And Giannis is not at LeBron's level yet. But this finals, you can see him getting there off the court and on the court.
Well, listen, you said earlier that Giannis is taking on the approach of like a CEO of the league. And I had never thought of it that way. But I think it's really smart because you're right. Part of what, you know, when Durant was nipping at LeBron's heels, or even Steph was nipping at LeBron's heels, or certainly when people are discussing Kawhi, those guys, Steph got closest. But as far as whenever they spoke, it's like, oh, we're going to get something real here, something interesting. We're going to learn something. Giannis has repeatedly done it this postseason, and it goes back to the press conference we talked about right before the playoffs started. When someone asked him, the question was something along the lines of, how can you guarantee this year's playoffs are going to go differently than the last couple? And he looked and said, oh, I can't guarantee that. I don't know. He's like, but, you know, I do my best and promise not to get too high or too low. And if you, now that they're a game away, Brandon, think about all the times that this could have gone left for the Bucks. First game of the playoffs against Miami, the team that whooped them last year. Giannis gets beat to the basket by Jimmy Butler to force overtime, and then they come back and win in overtime on a Middleton jump shot and crush them the rest of the series. They lose game 2 to Brooklyn by 1,000 points, and then only win game 3 after Bruce Brown goes a little haywire for a minute and Jrue Holiday gets the layup. Game 5, KD eviscerates them with the greatest performance of his career. They respond. Game 7, they're up 4 with a minute left, and then KD forces overtime. They respond in overtime. Game 4 against the Hawks, Giannis goes down. The Sun series, they're down 2-0. They're down big in the fourth quarter of game 4. And Giannis the whole time has been so even-keeled and been playing as if he doesn't recognize, man, if we lose in round 2, Bud's fired. I'm a choker. He has played like the pressure isn't on him when it's obviously on him. And I think that's totally about the mindset he has, Brandon.
See, don't get too high, don't get too low, don't hang from the rafters when you win, don't hang your head when you lose. You cover all the low. There's a key moment in this series as well where we can lean into the high side. Remember, we were talking about Giannis and the 40-point games, and a reporter asked him about Michael Jordan. He said, oh, no, I'm not Michael Jordan. what happens in those moments for most guys, especially at 26, they're going to go out there in a game 4 and say, you know what, I'm going after those 40 points. This is my moment to take my career and my legacy to a whole nother phase. What he did is he fell back because he didn't have it, and he let Chris Middleton lead the way. So that was a key moment for me when I said, man, this dude is just next level when you talk about the ego. So the question is what's next for Giannis? Because if he is so locked in mentally, then the sky's the limit physically. So, Nick, what is next? What do you expect Giannis to do, let's say next year?
Well, listen, I'm a big believer that one of the reasons Tom Brady, for instance, was always so good in the biggest moments was because he won instantly. And I'm a big believer that the reason LeBron, as far as how he's been in the biggest moments, it's the first part of his career and then the post-championship part of his career is once a guy gets that monkey off their back of can he ever win a title, it unlocks something new. It's why for Peyton Manning, as great as he was, he had those struggles and they built on themselves. One failure led to another, And so I do think there is a real possibility that as great as Giannis is playing in these finals, that assuming the Bucks win the title, Jenna, that the Giannis we see next year is actually the best Giannis we've ever seen, which is scary for the rest of the league.
Much more on this conversation coming up next on Undisputed. We got to go. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a great day.